Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hard Knocks debuted the 2021 season last night on HBO. I watched it, featuring America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And it's funny, this morning, USA Today had a headline, 5 takeaways from Hard Knocks. I started reading it. I'm like, what am I reading this for? I don't need your 5 takeaways. I got a couple. Number one, I was not the biggest Dak Prescott fan. I think people that watch this show know that. I'm less of a Dak Prescott fan coming out of watching this show. What a whiner. What a whiner. Look, I understand you want to take every rep. I get it. You can't take every single rep. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He was very upset
that he couldn't.
That he was pulled early in this training camp a couple weeks ago because they want to give the backups some work. Danny Bonaducci, the backup quarterback. Well, Ben DiNucci is his name, but I call him Danny Bonaducci, which means nothing to you, do you? He was the star of the Partridge Family. Anyways, that was one. Dak, come on, stop whining. Let these other guys have some work. And then, of course, he ends up getting hurt. 2, the biggest one was Jera. When he was talking to the team, I thought it was the head therapist. You said it was the team doctor.
Yeah, it was one of the two.
Yeah. So he's writing with an HB pencil these notes on Dak, talking with the medical staff on the phone. And we all take away different things. But my thing was this. He's eating a McDonald's Egg McMuffin, Jera Jones. And people are saying, well, what's odd about that? He's worth $7-8 billion. How's it he not have a Red Seal chef at his ready? You know, here you go, Mr. Jones. You know, with his choice, an omelet station.
Yeah, exactly. He's got Benedict or something like.
Right. An omelet station, a guy cutting a roast at the end of the table. Jerry, when you're done with the trainer, we have your choice here of ham, roast beef. Do you want that in your omelet, Mr. Jones?
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Good morning, Rod Squad.
Maybe tomorrow I'll tell you guys about the big game that I went to in San Antonio with Snoop Dogg. Remember that one, Clark? The Lakers and Spurs? Snoop Dogg and I went, Bob.
How about that?
Snoop Dogg was sitting courtside. I was up in the nosebleeds, but we were in the arena at the same time. I was there with him.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. That intro, nice work, boys. It brings us back to a fun time. Back when we were fully a morning show. It's afternoon out here in the East. Happy Football Friday and welcome. Rick Regan's the big voice guy here on the RP Show. It's nice to bring it back. Let's bring in the Moose. He is in Toronto. Wouldn't you know, I just before the show took a huge swig of coffee from the Boca Bagel Bar and choked myself, but I think I'll be okay. If you love football, this show's for you. We're going to have a sprinkling of hockey, but it's mostly football on a very big day between college football playoff semifinals, NFL wildcard weekend. They're calling it the best weekend of football on the calendar in the year. That's what football fans say. We have CFL notes and all the rest. I know you love football, Moose. What's on your mind here even though you're a Titans fan, I think you still love football, right?
Oh, yeah. And I think it's going to be a great weekend, and it's going to extend. It started, and the weekend goes from Thursday until Monday. That's what's so great about it. We had all these, college football playoffs last night. It's going to continue tonight, NFL playoffs, and it goes all the way through Monday. So, you're going to get your fix of football this weekend.
Yes, settle in and have fun, everybody. And before we go any further, you guys want to hit the quick six show horn just so we get that out of the way, so you're not sitting around with your finger hovering over the detonation button of the quick six show horn. We'll get that out of the way. But here's a story for you. I hope Serena's not mad at me when I share this, but that's okay. There's a guy at the rink. You know the story. I shared it with you. There's a guy at the rink here in Sunrise. He works for the NHL, and he lives in Cincinnati. I've never even met the guy. I've never met him. But every time that Serena and I go to the games together, he makes a beeline across the press box to say hi to her. So they talk. I literally don't even know his name. Seems like a nice enough guy. I've never met him. Yet he loves to hug her, and now they're all telling stories and stuff. I guess yesterday he discovered our show on the television channels in Cincinnati, and he sent a picture of it to Serena. He goes, "Oh, my God, I didn't know that your guy hosted a show." We're very big in Ohio, is the point. And, of course, the Buckeyes are playing tonight in a college football semifinal. So wherever you're watching today, because I'm in a good mood, I feel like everybody's in a good mood, tell us where you're watching from. Live right now, 902-518-3033. And here's the thing. I don't mind that they make a big deal out of each other. I've never even met the guy. I'm good with it. I don't have the bandwidth to worry about this stuff. But I said to you, it's like the ESPN book where Erin Andrews said in that book about ESPN, the making of ESPN, she's like, I just don't understand. Those college coaches are always so good to me. Well, yes, she's very respectful. She's good at her job, but she's also very hot, just like Serena. That doesn't hurt. Okay? And by the way, I know the football coaches, so don't talk to me like I don't know guys. Anyways, can you guys hit the quick six show horn again, and we'll get down to business, please and thank you. I just wanted to get that out of the way. See, they left. Hey, hit the wrong button. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please? I was kind of just waiting for everybody to get settled into their chairs. There we go.
How about that?
Now on point, and hello to everybody in Ohio. A diving interception off an ill-advised pass set up Notre Dame's trip to play for the national championship. After a thrill-a-minute Orange Bowl last night, Notre Dame a 27-24 victory over Penn State here at Miami Gardens. Fighting Irish defensive back Christian Gray snared Drew Aller's pass across the middle at the Nittany Lions 42-yard line with 33 seconds to go, and it set up Mitch Jeter's 41-yard field goal with 7 seconds left. Notre Dame won the game, the Orange Bowl, 27-24 over Penn State, and will now have the chance to bring home their first national title since 1988. They'll play the winner of tonight's Cotton Bowl to OSU at AT&T Stadium. So it was a pretty good game. Chillier. I had a lot of friends come down for the game, and it was colder than they expected, than anybody expected. But it was a great game. Last minute, dude. That's what you want, right? It all worked out nice again.
It was an unbelievable football game. It was really good. It was wire to wire. And, for a while it was defenses early, and Penn State goes up 10, and you think, okay, nothing's going right for the Irish. But then that, 8 minutes on either side of the break at halftime, right? They get the field goal late. They score the touchdown to start the second half. It's tied, and then they're back and forth. And, a couple of bad interceptions by Riley Leonard, and you think Notre Dame doesn't have a chance, but then they get one back. I thought it was awesome. I haven't been watching college football long enough, but Colin Cowherd last night, following him on social media, said it was a top 5 for him, a top 5 college football game ever. I knew the game was great, and I'm like, this was really awesome. And so it's getting a lot of high praise across the U.S. as being one of the great games we've seen.
It was a good one. I wouldn't quite go that far. John Barker checks in, says, hello from Gig Harbor, Washington, USA. Football Friday. Same to you, John. And by the way, your brother Jim is in hour. I'm not sure if you talked to him or not, but Jim Barker's appearances now will be in hour 2 from now to the end of time here on Football Friday. So I hope, John, you see enough here that you stay with us. Carlos writes in, he says, I'm watching from my usual place. I know where that is. Indianapolis, Indiana. I would like to hear our guy Cardinal Ryan from upstate New York, because he's the big Penn State Nittany Lion fan. He wrote in here yesterday about go Penn State. He's also a New York Jets fan, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's Cardinal Ryan. If he shows up, people let me know. You know yourself, Darren. If you cheer for a bunch of sucky teams, have you ever thought as a Leafs fan, maybe it's me? You must have thought that.
For a time. Oh, yeah. Leafs, Titans. Like, it wasn't good.
Right.
Blue Jays. Like, some pretty bleak years when you look at the trifecta. But no, I'm big enough to know I have nothing to do with it. I hope.
Yeah, well, we don't know that it's not you. We don't think that it is, but it could be. And that's what I'm saying about Cardinal Ryan in upstate New York. Maybe he is the jinx of all his favorite sports teams. I think we've all thought that about our teams. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes, and he says, it was a good game, but I would not say epic. I wouldn't go that far either. What was it, like 7-3 at halftime-ish, or 10-3, I think? And then it got 10-10 in the third. Yeah, and then it got crazy in the fourth quarter, which I guess is kind of what you want. And thank you, John Barker, for sticking around. He's going to stick around for the whole show before his brother Jim Barker joins us in hour two. Now, as we roll ahead, I guess now would be a good time to bring up our poll question. It is for EMJ Marketing. They will provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Contact Joe at emjmarketing.com. And Jim Barker is on their roster. I'm on their roster. Mike Vanderjack's on their roster. Stuart Grimson, John Ryan, all the greats. Darren DuPont. Who will win the college football playoff? Who's going to win it? We're down to 3 teams now. Notre Dame, who won last night, and then the 2 teams that will play tonight, OSU, Texas. And before you cast your ballot, we won't talk about this yet, Darren. We'll talk about that coming up. Well, we can vote now. I'm voting for Texas, but there's a little bit of my heart involved in that, right? Because of Steve Sarkisian. OSU's kicking everybody in these playoffs. But I'm going to vote for Texas because that's who I'm cheering for. How about you?
Well, I'm cheering for Notre Dame now. I said that yesterday, and they pulled off the win. But I think OSU. I'm voting OSU. I think they're going to win. They are. They're playing their best football right now when it matters. And to me, what I've seen so far, they're the best team left.
Yeah. It's hard. There's a big difference between who you think you will win and who you want to win. I would love for the Longhorns to win because they haven't won since, I think, 86. There's the Sarkisian story. Been following Quinn Ewers. What year was that? 03?
05.
Right, in the Rose.
05 Rose Bowl. For me, that's the greatest college game I've ever seen.
Right, so it's been 20 years for the Longhorns. But the Arch Manning story, there's some good stories with the Longhorns. Thank you for the correction there. Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, superstitions are hard to explain to people that aren't crazy like me. Don't worry, you don't have to explain it. If that's your lesson you take away from today, don't explain. Don't feel like you have to. Just be you. Now, that's 9 minutes on college football. For the love of Pete, you'd think we actually knew what we were talking about. Point 2 on this Football Friday. It is NFL wildcard playoff weekend. Now, there's a difference between the best weekend of the football calendar and the biggest weekend of the football calendar. I think the biggest weekend of the football calendar is the second weekend of September. It's NFL kickoff, return game of the Labor Day matchups in the CFL, week 2 in college football, and, of course, the university's going. That's the biggest weekend, the second week of September. But the best is this weekend because it's got the most NFL playoff games. And, Darren, there is always an upset on Wild Card weekend. Very similar to quarterfinal day at the World Juniors. There's always an upset. There's always an upset on this particular weekend. Now, here are the matchups for those that forgot. Saturday, the first game is the LA Chargers at the Houston Texans, followed by the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. Sunday, a triple-header. Denver at Buffalo, Green Bay at Philadelphia, Washington at Tampa Bay. Bucks are my playoff team. Just to clarify, the Cowboys are my regular season team. The Buccaneers are my playoff team. Just like the Blue Jays are my regular season team, the Yankees are my playoff team. Not explaining. And then Monday, it's Rams and Vikings in Glendale, Arizona. There's got to be at least one upset in there. Who do you think it'll be?
Oh, boy, there is. There's a lot of candidates. Like, I look at Denver as being a prime upset candidate to upset Buffalo. I think Buffalo is going to the Super Bowl. I don't think it's actually going to happen. They're a big prime candidate in that situation. Washington against Tampa should be really good. But I think the upset that's going to hurt some people, and it's going to upset people, is I think the Rams upset the Vikings, if I had to pick an upset. They lost to them in the regular season. The Vikings lost to the Rams already. Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay have that history together. They've been there before. I think the Rams could be the upset of the weekend.
It is a little confusing, isn't it, in terms of where the games are being played, i.e.
And I guess the Rams are the home team, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But is it an upset if that happens? Like the Chargers have 11 wins. They visit Houston, who has 10 wins. And my upset will be the Chargers.
Favorite, but...
If you look at the odds, the Chargers are favored by 3 in that game.
Yeah.
So I get it in terms of the seeds and all that. But if you say road teams winning, I'm with you. I think the Vikings are going to beat the Rams. I do. And what's great about that matchup is it's the upstart Vikings who came out of nowhere. Let's be honest, nobody expected this. And I mean, nobody. Right? Yeah. Versus the Rams who are just kind of hanging on. It's traces of that team that won the Super Bowl. We talked about this with the Rash a couple of days ago. But Aaron Donald's gone. OBJ's gone. Cooper Kupp's still there. Matthew Stafford's still there. But it's not the same team. They're just hanging on. Which, by the way, anybody can write in with what you think your upsets will be. Again, we're just simply making it simple. Road teams to win. Mine are the Chargers and the Vikings this weekend. Listening on the radio today, it's a flipping downer, man. I know why my neighbor Fish spends most of his time depressed because he's a Dolphins fan. Like, I don't get it. I'll say it again. Joe Rose. I love him. As somebody said to me recently, he's the biggest personality in Miami sports media. Played for the Dolphins, does color on the radio, and hosts a morning show. This morning he said Chris Greer, the GM of the Dolphins, needs to grow a set. I'm going to tell you right now, if I said back in the day as the broadcaster for the Saskatchewan Roughriders that our general manager, Roy Shivers, needed to grow a set, I'd have been on the next thing smoking. I mean, I kind of get that Joe Rose has been around forever. And they were complaining, saying, we need to do what the Rams do. We need to go out and pay for everybody in credit card money. That's what we need to do and blow it all push our chips in. I'm like, well, you kind of did that with Tua, but it was just, it was commiserating. That's the thing about living here and in any major market, right? You turn on the radio where you live, it's all about the Leafs. And I think you kind of get tired of that, or at least I do. It was a quick switch of the radio this morning. I'm like, I don't want to listen to this. Sitting there crying in their beer. I've been there as the broadcaster for a team, but not today. Herb is watching in Melville. Hey, Herb. Howard is watching in Queen City. Howard the Duck. And Chad writes in from Lethbridge, Alberta. He says, I've been watching Joe Girardi ejections the last couple of hours. The guy stuck up for his players. Love it. Maybe he could come coach the Blue Jays. Happy Friday, fellas. By the way, I saw Joe Girardi in the gym yesterday. He's there every day. I just finally got up the courage to introduce myself this week. But my producer, Ben, of the Cats and Bolts podcast, did I tell you this? He said, we should, he goes, I was friends with Joe Girardi's son, Dante. Used to sell him bagels. If you're not from here, you don't know. But he goes, we should just burn a hockey episode of Cats and Bolts and bring in Joe Girardi. Because I think it would be the biggest thing ever. And I'm not thinking that's entirely out of line. If you were us, Darren, would you do that? If you had the opportunity to get Joe Girardi on, even though you're a hockey show, would you do it? I'm kind of leaning towards it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Such a nice guy.
Sports shows, we're bringing on the presidential candidates and all the rest. Sometimes you got to veer from what you do for something that's great.
Clark just said with his mouth full in my ear, bring him on this show. We could do that too. We got a lot of options. Yeah, we got a lot of options. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in, he says, I just can't believe how huge a team the Fighting Irish are physically. He goes, have to watch the Cotton Bowl first to pick the eventual champion, but I suspect Texas, better quarterback. Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, Dolphins fans have it so good compared to some teams. Raiders. It's been a long time since the Raiders fans were bragging about anything. And by the way, I know we got a break here, but this has been fun, hasn't it? Did you see, you probably didn't, a GIF on Twitter? Somebody said, here's Tom Brady walking into the Raiders offices today after Tom Telesco was fired. I'm like, real quick, do you think Tom Brady had any hand in the GM being fired of the Raiders? Yes or no?
No.
I'll say yes. We got a lot of things to kick around. We'll be right back. It's a Football Friday. We're live on the Game Plus television network, apparently very big in Ohio, which doesn't surprise me. Streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
It may take weeks, months, or even years to get the call to be a stem cell donor. Saving lives takes commitment and dedication, just like being a hockey player. Give hope to patients in Canada. Register online at blood.ca/get-swabbed and spread the word amongst your family and friends. I am in the Florida studio and loving it. Moose is in the Toronto studio and loving it. And guys, I should tell you, because we all have access to our Twitter account at Rod Pedersen Show. We have a new follower. Her name's Amanda Hansen, and she's single and open for a relationship, and she's in the United States. I'm sure it's legit. I'm sure it's legit.
I love you, man.
Do you not feel...
You just looking out for the boys here, telling us all that she's single and looking as though what's going on?
Meh. I feel like ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, bought it, it's gone pretty much in the toilet. It was never actually great, but it's gotten really bad. Worse. And I'm an Elon Musk fan. His mom's from North Battleford. Are you with me on that or not?
Yeah, it's definitely open season over there in terms of bots and spam, and it's a lot of social media. You can't, like, you get all these followers and yeah, they're not real. You're always getting scammed. I'm getting text messages from people who think they know me. Not good.
Vintage Sasko writes in, and I'm asking people where you're watching from. 902-518-3033. Vintage Sasko, formerly known as Fake Gainer, writes in and says, "Hi, Uncle Rod. I can call you that because I am much younger than you, but not wiser. Watching the show in Hoarfrost, Saskatchewan. Blessings, Vintage Sasko." If you don't know what that is, folks, don't ask. It sounds dirty, but it's not. It's not even spelled the same. By the way, on that Raiders thing and Tom Telesco being fired, the general manager, like a day or two after the head coach, Antonio Pierce, being fired, I said, did Tom Brady have anything to do with it? And you said you didn't think so. Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, of course Tom did, especially if you've heard Mark Davis and his comments about him developing their next quarterback. I've worked for teams for a real long time. This is going to upset some people. I don't care. The owners are responsible for everything, especially when you get to the level of firing a general manager. Who else would it be? Maybe the president, maybe, but we don't even know who the president of the Raiders is. Guaranteed the ownership made the decision to get rid of Tom Telesco, and Tom Brady was behind it. Tom wasn't part of the ownership group when Telesco was hired. Was it not just last year? 18 months ago? This is the point where I'll get back. It's with toxic teams, because not all teams are like this, but with toxic teams, the owners are front and center when things are going good and when things are going bad. Have you seen Mark lately? No, it's been a couple of years. I know. And Roger Aldag used to say, with the community-run board of directors of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, my good friend Roger, they got it. He goes, whenever we won, the board's down on the field after the game, patting us on the back. When we lose, can't find them. See what I'm saying? They are behind everything. And when things go great, they're sitting there like this. And when things are going bad, see them. But you have to have worked inside the guts of the team. Now, with the winning, that's not fair, because with the winning teams, it's not like that. But with the losing teams, it is. K2 hockey. Oh, by the way, Jeff the Stamps fan says, sorry, he's not into long-distance relationships. He's not interested in Amanda, our newest follower, who's single and open for something fun. On this Football Friday, we are still in the Quick Six show topics here, so I'm going to drop a hockey note, because we still are on national television in Canada. Jordan Staal scored a hat trick to lead the Carolina Hurricanes to a 6-3 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. The Ottawa Senators and Edmonton Oilers also lost on a tough night for Canadian teams. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, that's right, made 35 saves as the Buffalo Sabres shut out Ottawa 4-0. And Sidney Crosby had a goal and two helpers to lift the Pittsburgh Penguins 5-3 over Edmonton. Meanwhile, Nathan McKinnon had a goal in his NHL-leading 53rd assist of the season as the Avalanche routed the Minnesota Wild 6-1. Through all of that, I actually beat you 5-4 in the picks last night, and the pick race is now this. Then our breakaway bets, 23-22. You lead me by one. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? It's footsteps. I'm coming. You can tell. So Leafs lost last night. You said you PVR'd it. What's your take on the game?
It was a good hockey game. A really good hockey game.
Yeah?
And, especially early, William Nylander hadn't scored, I think it was 8 games without a goal, and he's among the leaders in the National Hockey League. And they said he had a one-on-one meeting with Craig Berube before the game. Well, he came out like his pants were on fire, and he came out early, took over the game, great chance to score, hit the post. Then he has a breakaway. Great deke, can't score. Get another breakaway in the first period. Finally, he scores. and the Leafs go up 2-0, but here comes, the Hurricanes. They come back and tie it. They take the lead. The Leafs tie it. Hurricanes take the lead again. There was a shorthanded goal. It was two good teams playing a really good hockey game, and that would be a fun playoff series to watch.
I want to thank Don Sawchuk, who has texted in. He said, Don, watching in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I think if you looked and broke down our demographic of viewers, it is the vast majority of our viewers are from the 306, the rectangle. Easy to draw, hard to spell. Saskatchewan, Canada, where I was on the air for 35 years on radio. Only 35 years, no big deal. So thank you. We're from everywhere. Tell us where you're watching. I appreciate you all writing in 902-518-3033. Why are we asking? Because a new friend of Serena's who works in the press box in the NHL was in Cincinnati, flipped on the television, and holy smokes, there's your husband. I didn't know he did that. Sent her a photo of us. So that's just in Cincinnati. No big deal. Hockey, we'll do breakaway picks later. Don't let me forget to ask you. Raptors lost again on the road. They fell 132-126 in a hard-fought battle against the league-leading Cleveland Cavaliers. They're now a league worst 1-17 away from home this season. Toronto has also lost 15 of its last 16 overall. Wah, wah, wah. I think we can officially call them the Toronto Raptors. Hour one is brought to you by Culligan of Regina. Clear water, clear choice. Filter out the bad and taste the good. Culligan Water of Regina. Check him out at CulliganRegina.com. Now pick up Moose Ramoski. CFL note, I want your take on all the audience. Because we're airing on Game Plus television out of, it's anchored in Toronto. Rick Campbell is returning to the Ottawa Red Blacks. He will serve as special teams coordinator next season after spending the last 4 years with BC as head coach and co-GM. Rick Campbell was the Red Blacks' first head coach from 2014 through 2019, led the team to a Grey Cup title in 2016 after being named CFL Coach of the Year the previous season. He's the son of royalty. Hugh Campbell, the coach and architect of the Edmonton Eskimos and their 5 consecutive Grey Cup victories back in the early 80s. That's his kid, Rick. I've interviewed Rick. I don't know him well. The people that love Rick, that know him, love him. To me, he's kind of beige. His quotes are bland. Nice guy. I'm not saying he's not a nice guy. When he does open up, he says a lot of very insightful things, but he's not that colorful. But that's also fine. Nor was his dad. And he won. Just said Rick wins. But there are those that are saying the head coach of the Ottawa Red Blacks, Bob Dice, has hired his own replacement in Rick Campbell. I think that's complete poppycock. Now, I don't know how things run in Ottawa. I won't call it loser thinking for the benefit of those that think that way. Let's call it defeatist thinking. I know Bob Dice really well. Really, really, really well. The head coach in Ottawa. He's not worried about hiring his replacement. He wants the best person possible. I know you like that term, Darren. If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Bob wants to win. Now, the flip side of this is, because there are those that do agree with that he did hire his replacement, and maybe Sean Burke or the general manager or somebody higher than him said, put Rick Campbell on the staff. I don't believe that was to happen, but I don't know what goes on in Ottawa. That happens with teams too, dysfunctional teams, where the coach isn't allowed to name his own staff. I don't think that's the case in Ottawa. I think Bob wants the best people. What do you think?
I hope so. We sit here and we only see, okay, he got hired. We see the result, and then everybody wants to draw their own conclusions. Well, every situation's not the same. And it depends on the people. Like you mentioned Bob, he wants the best people, then it's great. And it is good. And we know Rick Campbell's a great coach, and he's going to be a great addition to any staff. He's going to be a wonderful addition in Ottawa. And, a better staff's a better staff, and makes the staff better. Now, we don't know the dynamic. I don't know Bob personally, but everything I've seen tells me this is going to be okay. The issue, and enough time has passed since Rick was in Ottawa, but the issue that could come up is, who's the leader and how vocal is Rick Campbell, in those meetings, And who's leading this team? Who's talking? Who do the players turn to? You know, when things are going poorly, is it Bob Dice? Or do they start looking at Rick and saying, what do you think we should do? The more that happens, that could be a problem. But you don't hire a guy if you think that's possible, right? I assume that they're both comfortable in this situation. They know the roles, and it's going to work out just fine.
The biggest prison we live in is our own mind and the fear of what other people think. Okay? And i.e., Jeff the Stamps fan writes in and says, it seems like a demotion. It is a demotion. But so what? Who cares what other people think? Like, for instance, I went from being the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughrider to hosting a podcast in Florida on the Panthers, and I couldn't be happier. I don't have an ego compared to what some people think. I don't. Rick Campbell wants to coach, so he goes to Ottawa. Chris Jones coached high school football. You all hate him, and that's fine. You don't care what you think. You know what I mean? Rick Campbell doesn't care. It's, what do you want to do?
Coaching opening.
And the hell with whatever anybody else thinks. I'll say this again, and it's going in my 10 things column, so spoiler alert, I'm going to scoop myself. 1 year ago, if somebody had said to you, on January 8th, 2025, Bill Belichick will be the head coach of the University of North Carolina Tar Heels, and Chris Jones will be his defensive assistant, what the hell would you have said? You would have been fitting me for a straitjacket. What are you talking? What? That's exactly what happened. Jones don't care, man. I don't care. Now, some guys won't go do that. You know, and back to Rick. I don't want to make it sound unfair that I don't like him or something. It's just I remember rolling back a tape of an interview that I did with Rick, and it was, hey, Rick, you're facing Saskatchewan in this football game. What do you need to do? We need to block. We need to tackle. We need to execute. Oh, so how do you plan to do that? We need to block. We need to tackle. We need to execute. They're a great team. They're well coached. I'm like, I could have got the janitor to say that. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not that exciting. But he did coach Ottawa to a Grey Cup championship, so it's not like he's not a winner. I'm not opposed. If I was running a CFL team and Rick Campbell applied, I'd certainly interview him. Maybe he's not that bland behind the scenes. He was just bland to me. What do you think of the hire?
Yeah, I think, you know, well-respected and a great football coach is going to be great. It's going to work out well. And if you have another resource on your staff for Bob Dice, why wouldn't you have it? And what a great resource to have.
Yeah.
You know, anytime you can have somebody on your staff who's been a head coach, who's won a Grey Cup, that's going to make you better as a head coach. And they're going to be fine. You know, I don't think it's going to be an issue of, you know, a power struggle. Unless he was appointed to the staff, then that could be a problem. But I just don't see that being the case. I really don't.
That's the point. We don't know. And I don't know that we'll ever know. And I'm not sure that I really care. Carlos in Indianapolis writes in, he says, weirder things happen in the wide world of sports. Do they ever? And people are all trying to make them make sense. I'm like, they're never going to make sense. So stop trying to make it make sense. It's not going to. Right. And the thing with Rick, I mean, he wouldn't even tell you now because it doesn't matter. But the word I got at Grey Cup is he was told to start work when he came back from the NFL, because if it was up to Rick Campbell, he'd have kept playing Vernon Adams. That's the rumor. I don't know if it's true or not. Dang, it's fun. Rumors are so much fun until you're the topic of it. Then they suck. We'll be back and talk a little bit about the Cotton Bowl tonight. It's a Football Friday. We are live on the Game Plus television network, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house. Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Ladies and gentlemen, transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Check out their website for more information at emjmarketing.com. As you see, I'm wearing my Tampa Bay Buccaneers shirt because the Buccaneers are my playoff team. The Dallas Cowboys are my regular season team. Moose, what are you rocking today, Moose? Je Canada game. I love the Francais.
Yeah. So do I got to get on there. There you go. PEI.
Gotcha. It is a Football Friday. Jim Barker's coming up in hour 2. His whole family has showed up to watch, which we appreciate them. Only to find out that he's been moved to hour 2 from now to the end of time, and they've been kind enough to stay. So thank you to the Barker family for that. Devin's watching in Burns Lake, BC. He writes in and says, it's going to be a wild CFL season this year. They always are. Again, you're not going to find anything wilder than Bill Belichick going to UNC. I'm sorry. That is the curveball that just tells you that 2025 is going to be more cockamamie than any year. And Chris Jones is on his staff. Again, for those that joined us late, 902-518-3033. Where are you watching from? Bill writes in, he goes, watching from Brantford, Ontario, on Game Plus, Channel 535. Kirk, watching in Toronto. He says, Rod, since you live close to Trump, could you find out after he annexes Canada what his plans are for our beloved CFL? If we have time, we'll address that later because I'm not necessarily ready to dismiss that, but I'm not ready to talk about it at this very moment because Ohio State and Texas are both seeking a chance to end national title droughts. Powerhouse programs meet in the college football playoff semifinal known as the Cotton Bowl tonight. The winner advances to the national title game to play Notre Dame on January 20th. Ohio is the only team to appear in 4 of the last 6 college football playoffs, but its last national title was 10 years ago. That was the first season of the 4-team college football playoff when the Buckeyes won at AT&T Stadium, where the Cotton Bowl will be played tonight. Texas's last title was 19 years ago. You're right, Moose. It was Vince Young in the Rose Bowl. I apologize. So you said that's the poll. Who's going to win this whole thing? When it's all said and done, who's going to win it all in Atlanta, January 20th? You're saying OSU, huh? I saw some of the Longhorns players interviewed, and they're saying they're obsessed with winning. And it's not like OSU isn't. But if it really comes down to who wants it more, to quote John Frenzy, I really think Texas wants it more. But that could just be my feelings, man. That's why I'm so crappy at betting. I can't separate the two. What makes you think OSU will win, which, by the way, they're favored tonight by, I think it's 5. I'd have to look it up. They're favored for sure. It's around a touchdown. What makes you so confident?
Well, with Texas,
6.5.
say that,
6.5.
Okay. Big spread, which, I didn't think it was going to be quite that big. I actually thought it would be more like 4.5. But, with Texas, it feels, not that I want to compare them to the Kansas City Chiefs, but we know they're good. And at the beginning of the year, we kind of said maybe they're the best team in college football and to win this whole thing. And throughout the year, and then there was a couple stumbling blocks, but they ended up doing what they needed to do. And then you look at the ASU game, Arizona State, and they almost lost that too, but they always found a way, and they didn't panic, and they figured it out, and they found a way. Kind of like what the Chiefs are doing. 15-1, they just kept finding ways. They were never stressed, never worried about losing the games, but they made a lot of mistakes, and Texas has made mistakes, which is why I think Ohio State probably has the opportunity to put them away and why the spread is where it is. Ever since the Michigan game, where Ohio State, you look at that game, couldn't get anything going against a good defense, they've been rolling. Looked really good, taking care of business, not making mistakes, kind of like they're out for blood. And so I think that's a scary proposition because if Texas makes mistakes, this could get out of hand early, just like Oregon, a week ago on New Year's Day. That's why I think Ohio State's going to win. I just think top to bottom, they're not making mistakes. They're just coming in wave after wave after wave. But Texas, hey, great team. They haven't played. Anything can happen.
Yeah. By the way, the other thing we've been talking about is what upset will occur on NFL wildcard weekend. And it is always difficult to say what's the upset based on the seedings and who's at home. Like Chargers at Houston, LA's favored by 3, but they're the road team, and I think LA's going to win. Is it an upset? Not statistically. They've got more wins, yet they're the road team. That's got to factor for something, which while I have you here, I got so much to get to. How do you think it'll affect the Rams and Vikings that this game has been moved to Glendale, Arizona because of the fires? It's not going to affect Minnesota at all. A road game's a road game. How about the Rams? It's not their home field. SoFi's their home. They won a Super Bowl in it, for God's sakes. That can't help the Rams.
No, and not when the Vikings come to town. Now, Rams fans, I think, have a 2 or 3 hour head start on buying tickets for Glendale, so the Rams get first crack at it. But this is somewhat closer for Vikings fans. Still probably got to fly, but you're a lot closer to make that trip. It makes it a neutral game, and I think it's going to be a really good game. And I know LA's the home team, but Minnesota should be favored. They're a better team. They've had a better season. All the rest. Same thing with the Chargers. They're not the underdogs in that game, even though they're the road team. I think the Chargers will win, too. I think I could see both LA teams finding a way to win this weekend.
Fun topics today on the old RP show on a Football Friday. Jim Barker coming up in hour 2. I'm asking the audience where you're watching from today. Some have ponied up and answered the bell, and then tacked on a question with it. For instance, Chris writes in. He says, "Hey, squad. Chris Jarl watching from Vernon, British Columbia. Any thoughts on how the media is covering the Miller-Pedersen not getting along rumor?" Yeah, I have thoughts. It's crap. It's station snack food. It's crap. And I'm not getting into it. Similar to Trump annexing Canada, making it a 51st state. It's not going to happen. If you want to go down the rabbit hole and talk about it, it wouldn't happen unless there was a violent takeover. I click on Yahoo like I do every morning to get my mail, and the friggin' headlines come up. Here's how the USA could make Canada a 51st state. It's not going to happen. It's dumb. Why are we talking? I'm not wasting time on it. Pedersen, JT Miller. Do you actually think they're the first teammates in the history of sports to not get along? I don't care. The Vancouver Canucks are a toxic organization. The coach can't separate these two, so one or both are going to be traded. I don't care. I already spent more time on it than I should have. I'd rather talk about things that matter, like football games this weekend. They don't get along. Oh, my God. What are we at, grade 7? That's what I think, Chris. Way, way, way too much time has been spent on it. But you know what? The public is consuming it like gas station snack food. I didn't say it doesn't taste good, but it's not good for you. Okay, Moose, I'll see you in hour 2.
All right. See you then.
We'll be right back with a sports update and more viewer takeover after this. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live, and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Yo, are you looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? Look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. It's the ultimate training destination for players of all ages and skill levels with state-of-the-art shooting lanes, top-notch equipment, plus a licensed bar for mom and dad. Whether you're prepping for the big game or just want to have some fun, Overtime Hockey Lanes has got you covered. Check them out at overtime8.ca. By the way, with Chris in Vernon, BC, we could really go down another rabbit hole here if we wanted to. When I said this type of reporting on the Canucks players not getting along is like gas station snack food. It's not that I'm against gas station snack food. Who doesn't love the cinnamon bun in the wrap? But I stay away from it because I know it's not good for me. Chris writes in, same guy. He says, I agree. I think it's a garbage rumor, too. Should we start holding sports media accountable? Oh, guy. How much time we got. And, of course, you should hold sports media accountable. But how would you do that? The only way to do that is unfollow them. And you're probably not going to do that. I just appreciate that you came here for the truth, or at the least the opinions. I don't know how you would hold sports media accountable. If anybody wants to write in, let me know. Politicians, we vote them out. Restaurants, we boycott them. Sports media, what do you do? I don't know. What I know is if I hate people, I don't follow them. I don't hate anybody, but I don't like Piers Morgan. I don't like him, so I don't watch his show. I don't sit and start fake Twitter accounts about him. I don't slag him. You don't ever hear me talk about him. I don't think about him. So I think different than everybody else. Rob writes in. He says, Rob here from Yorkton, Sask. Great show. Get Stackhouse on your show. I'm not sure the world's ready for that. Ron from Calgary writes in. He says, I'm watching from Okotoks now. Darren writes in. He says, from Melfort, Sask. He says, my heart is with Notre Dame, but Ohio is rolling at the right time. New playoff format, by the way, is fantastic. I'd be interested to see if Jim Barker agrees with that when he joins us next hour. He said that the Final Four were the right ones, so I'm sure he does agree. Still getting a lot of Canadian viewers, even though we found out yesterday, very big in Ohio as well. They're probably all busy talking about the Buckeyes. They don't care about the Vancouver Canucks players not getting along. Say it out loud. Sports update. The NFL has moved the Rams wildcard playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings to Arizona after days of devastating wildfires in the LA area. The playoff game will be played Monday night at State Farm Stadium, the home of the Arizona Cardinals. Meanwhile, Cleveland, Jacksonville, and the New York Jets each will play a home NFL game in London next season. Their opponents, along with dates and kickoff times, will be revealed when the full 2025 schedule is released this spring. The Browns and Jets will play at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, while the Jaguars will host a game at Wembley Stadium. Sports updates brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Sonic the Hedgehog. Guys, are we not inside a minute before we break? Sonic the Hedgehog returns to the big screen in his most thrilling adventure yet. Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. Yeah, thanks, guys. What are you doing? Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails reunite against a powerful new adversary, Shadow, a mysterious villain with powers unlike anything they have faced before. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is in Landmark Cinemas now. Hour 2 coming up after this brief pause, everybody. And that includes Jim Barker and Moose in my weekend picks. We'll be right back.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Good morning, Rod Squad.
Maybe tomorrow I'll tell you guys about the game that I went to in San Antonio with Snoop Dogg. Remember that one, Clark? The Lakers and Spurs? Snoop Dogg and I went, Bob.
How about that?
Snoop Dogg was sitting courtside. I was up in the nosebleeds, but we were in the arena at the same time. I was there with him.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Getting after it, hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. Can I say that? It's certainly different than the others. I think we can all agree on that. Here on Game Plus Television, streaming live, we're asking folks where you're watching from today. It's 90% Canadian viewers. That doesn't surprise me, with a lot of American topics. The Moose is in Toronto. We've got a long ways to go and a short time to get here this hour. Moose, hang on to your seat. Hang on to your toupee, because we're going to go fast. Can you guys hit the quick sook show horn just to re-up for everybody? I see that we have a lot of new people. Yeah, thank you. A lot of new people have settled in here for hour 2 that weren't with us an hour ago. So here's what we've been talking about. The Orange Bowl was played here last night at Miami Gardens on a chilly night in South Florida. But Notre Dame beat Penn State 7-24 on a field goal with 7 seconds to go. Notre Dame is off to the National College Football Championship on January 20th in Atlanta. They'll play the winner of tonight's Cotton Bowl in Dallas or Arlington, Texas, between the Texas Longhorns and the OSU Buckeyes. I've picked the Longhorns to win, but they're friend of mine. I'm a little skewed, but whatever. I'll be cheering for them. Darren has picked OSU, and that's the poll question. Who's going to win it all that night in Atlanta at Mercedes Stadium? And I think it's like a three-way tie as we sit here right now. NFL wildcard weekend. There's always an upset this weekend. We're asking the viewers, who do you think it'll be? NHL leftovers from last night. We dealt with that. Coming up, we're going to look at tonight's games and pick the winners. And the Raptors lost again. That's not news. This time was in Cleveland, 132-126 Thursday night. And then the one CFL note, which Jim Barker's coming up next from the CFL on TSN. Rick Campbell is returning. He was the head coach of the Ottawa Redblacks, first ever franchise head coach for many seasons, like 6, I think, ish. And then he went to BC with the Lions, where he was the head coach and co-GM. Got fired after this past season. He's returning to Ottawa as the special teams coordinator. And people are saying, oh, Ottawa's head coach Bob Dice has hired his replacement. I think that's defeatist thinking. Bobby wants the best people around him. I could be wrong. It's happened like twice, but I don't think so. Let's jump right into Deal or No Deal, Moose. People know what that is by now. I give the point spreads on NFL games on the weekend. Darren decides whether he's going to take the bet or not, and then I agree or disagree. So Saturday, it's a doubleheader. The very first playoff game on Wild Card weekend is the LA Chargers at the Houston Texans. The Chargers are favored by 3. Deal or no deal?
Deal for me. Chargers win.
He's taking the deal. That's me as well. Houston, I want to ask Jim Barker this. We can spend a minute on this. Do you not feel like C.J. Stroud isn't catching anybody off guard this year like he did last year? Like, Houston's lost their mojo somehow. I don't really know what it is, but they're coming in hot like they were last year. Is that part of it?
Well, last year they were Washington, right? Washington this year is the hot team, really on the map, exciting quarterback. And that's what Houston was last year. Man, they're exciting. And now, C.J. Stroud, I don't think he's gotten worse, but you're right. Not catching anybody by surprise. Bit of a struggle now when everybody's kind of got some film on you. This will be a big game for him for sure, and D'Amico Ryans too, like their coach. It'll be a big game.
Pittsburgh at Baltimore Saturday is the second game of the doubleheader, and the Ravens are favored by 9.5. I'll tell you right now, I got the Ravens to win. Will it be by 9.5? I think it will. I think Mike Tomlin's pumpkin is going to turn into a glass slipper, or however the hell it works. Like, he hasn't won a playoff game in 8 years. I think they get smashed in Baltimore on Saturday night. I do, so I'm taking the deal. You?
No deal for me. I think Baltimore does win. I think you're right. But I just think this is going to be a defensive game, low scoring, even if Baltimore looks like they're in control, not by 9.5.
Sunday triple header beginning with Denver at Buffalo. Is it 9 seasons Broncos have been out of the playoffs? I think it's up to 9 seasons, but Bo Nix has led them there, and Sean Payton. The Bills are favored by 8.5 on this one, and I think they'll cover that. I think Broncos are going to be suffering from a little bit of happy to be there-itis, and I think the Bills will cover 8.5. You?
Tough one for me. I'm going to say deal. I think they'll cover, even though my heart says Denver has a real shot to provide the upset. But I don't know. I just can't go against Buffalo.
Deal from both of us. Green Bay at Philadelphia. Our guy Brent from Wellington, Florida, will be at the game, at the link. Eagles are favored by 5. Deal or no deal?
Deal for me. I like the Eagles.
Digital Dean. That's his name. He's watching in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He writes in, he says, Happy Football Friday, RP fam. Well, the odds are stacked against my Packers in the playoffs. Still going to cheer them on. Let's see what they can do. Hashtag Go Pack Go. Moose and I both think the Eagles will win by at least 5. Sorry, Digital Dean. Washington at Tampa Bay. It's a Bucks life. Hashtag Bucks life. I got them to cover by 3. Do you see an upset happening there? Washington coming into town?
They could. They really could. But at the end of the day, I don't. I think Tampa will win and cover.
Me too. I'm wearing the Bucks shirt because they're my playoff team and the Dallas Cowboys are my regular season team. We've established that. My upset is this: Minnesota Vikings beating the LA Rams in Glendale on Monday night. The Rams are favored by 3. I think the Vikings will go into the Valley of the Sun and win. I'm taking no deal from me there. How about you?
No deal either. I'm surprised the Rams are favored. I really am in this game, even though they beat Minnesota in the regular season.
Before we shift gears in a second, and we'll get to our NHL picks. And if you think we were a betting show, which, by the way, we're not, asking people to write in where they're watching from. Last hour, Chris in Vernon, BC, asked what I thought about the Vancouver Canucks, the media reporting on the spat between JT Miller and Elias Pedersen. I said, I don't follow it. I don't care. And he said he agreed, and he said, how do we hold sports media accountable? Bob in Saskatoon writes, and he says, ESPN gets rid of sports opinion people all the time when they cross the line between sports and their beliefs. He said, right bosses of sports fakes. Pile on, they will get rid of them, right or wrong. We might want to check your text, Bob. I don't understand what you're saying there, but holding sports media accountable. Save for not watching or following them at all. I don't know how you would do that. Piers Morgan's like the only public person that I really gets under my skin. Like when I see him, I get annoyed. You don't ever hear me talk about Piers Morgan, do you, Darren? Because I don't think about him. No. He doesn't exist to me. So I don't know how you would hold sports media accountable. How do you even do that? Never even thought about it.
Well, you mean you get your voice heard on shows like this if the host wants to read them, and social media and the rest. I mean, that's how we're doing it in today's day and age. It used to be the letter to the editor, and now it's, I guess, social media if you choose to listen. But I mean, we don't.
It's tough for a guy like Chris, right, in Vernon, BC. He's like, he doesn't like the way the Vancouver media is covering the Canucks and this dressing room squabble. What are you going to do? Unfollow those guys? That'll be pretty hard to do. They cover your team. I don't know the answer. What I know is if there's somebody I don't like, I don't follow them. But I don't sit here and rag on them every day. Again, that's how I'm different from a lot of people. Gary with 2 R's writes in. He says he's watching in Penticton, British Columbia. I don't understand this. Again, the difference in me and others. The game has been moved from Los Angeles because of the fires in Southern California. People are saying, well, they could have moved it here. Should have. They didn't. I'm not playing that game. But you guys go ahead in the comment section. The decision's been made. Let's move on. NHL tonight, 5 games. Lemuski. I'm hot on your heels, 1 pick behind in the new year. He's got 23 right. We pick the NHL games every day. I got 22. And now we rotate the order of what we pick. I know nobody cares but us, but that's fine. It's my show. Montreal at Washington tonight. Who do you like?
Washington.
You can have them, baby.
Put one on the board.
I got the Montreal Canadiens. They've won 8 of 10. Whoop, whoop. Vancouver at Carolina. Hopefully they can get over this locker room squabble, and which, by the way, doesn't help that they are losing. They lost in Vancouver in overtime. They lost in Montreal in overtime on this roadie. Not saying it doesn't affect the team. I just don't care. Figure out your stuff. Get it together is kind of what I'm saying about that. I got other things to worry about, and it's 1:11 Eastern. Just pointing that out, too, by the way. So I'll take Carolina tonight. They beat the Leafs last night.
Carolina for me, dog.
That's 2 of us. Chicago, Chicago, that title in town. I love it. Chicago at Detroit tonight, an original 6 battle. I'll go. You go first. I think it's time for you to go
give me
first.
the Blackhawks.
You can have them. I'll take Detroit. Maybe you're not noticing what they're doing under Todd McClellan. Doing great things. We discussed it last night on the South Florida Tribune podcast. And let me just stop for a second. Hosted by the Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morgan Roth. Our P1s, our hardcore viewers know the Motor City Madmouse, Scott Morganroth. We were on the show last night. We talked a lot of Detroit sports because he's from there, even though it's the South Florida Tribune podcast. Again, I was on it last night. And the Motor City Badmouth informed me he is going to Super Bowl. He's like, so if you want any coverage from Super Bowl, I'll be there. And I'm like, well, of course I want coverage from Super Bowl. So we can say the Rod Pedersen Show is going to be at Super Bowl in New Orleans. The Motor City Madmouse, Scott Morganroth, will be there. Now, the other day, I was talking on the phone with Rich Sutter of the hockey-playing Sutter family, hockey's first family. He asked if I was going to Super Bowl. And I said, no, it's not going to work out, which is okay because I don't really want to go in an RV. That's what I was going to do. I was going to rent an RV and drive from southern Florida to New Orleans and stay in it all week. And Rich goes, well, that's kind of sounds fun. I'm like, it sounds like a blast, but I'm not going to do it. So Scott will cover the Super Bowl for us, and we'll do an RV trip a few years from now. What did we decide, Darren? 2028 in Atlanta will be the next time that I drive to the Super Bowl, because the upcoming Super Bowls are San Francisco, right, Los Angeles, and then Atlanta, not drivable from South Florida. So there. I'll get more on that. Oh, yeah, let me finish up the picks, then I'll tell you an interesting story. L.A. Kings at Winnipeg tonight. That's the game of the night.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
Give me the Jets.
I'll take the Jets as well. And San Jose at Utah. Mr. Shark Lover, you going to take San Jose at Utah tonight or what?
If you'll let me, I will, yeah.
You take them, I'll take Utah. No problem. That's our picks. It's called sport betting, y'all. We pick the games, don't put any money on it. We don't declare bankruptcy nor lose our house. It's great. I went up to the DMV. I found out yesterday, Darren, why people go postal at the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles. Not a big deal, but I waited for a very long time for my scheduled appointment just to change my address on my driver's license. That's all I was going to do. What made me think of it is my picture on my driver's license. Mike Lee said to me, that looks like a guy that drives an RV. I'm like, I wish it was. I don't have an RV, but I'd like to get one. I waited all that time, get up to the window, and the guy says, do you have your green card? I'm like, no, didn't say I needed my green card. It said on the website, all I need is 2 pieces of mail that prove where I live now. He goes, no.
Take a new number.
You need your green card.
The back of the line. You mean I waited all afternoon just to hear that?
No, it's not. No. Guy, you got to book these appointments a month in advance. I've waited a month to get that appointment, to go all the way up to Delray Beach and then find out I didn't have the right documentation, which they didn't even tell me on the website I needed. Okay. Trent in Norway with a quick one. His NFL picks this weekend, wildcard weekend. Trent in Norway writes in. He says, Eagles, Vikings, Buccaneers, Bills, Chargers, and Ravens this weekend in the NFL. That's the same as all of mine. Wayne in Victoria, BC, just got back from a cruise. He's asking us who the head coach of the BC Lions is and if the Utah hockey team has a new name yet. Wayne, have you heard of Google?
How about that?
Moose, have a great weekend, okay? Stay safe for the love of God and be good to yourself.
I will. Have a good weekend, guys.
Football maven Jim Barker joins us next to talk college football playoff, NFL, and CFL. We'll be back in a moment here on Game Plus Television, streaming live, and, of course, podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hour 2 of the RP show is brought to you by Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. We're asking our viewers where you're watching from today. Greg in Calgary writes in. He says, hey, Rod, it's Greg here watching in Calgary. I'll take Ohio State to win it all in college football and Green Bay to upset Philadelphia in the NFL. Now, it's a big football weekend. Jim Barker joins us for it. Thanks for accommodating our time shift move, Jim. Your whole family's watching. They told us, just so you know. No pressure. Let's start, if you don't mind, with the Orange,
all over the
Orange
country.
Bowl last night. Yeah, exactly. All over. I appreciate them so much.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you got a lot of boys in that family, Barkers, so it's going to happen. 3-point win for Notre Dame last night. Went down to the last few seconds in the Orange Bowl. It's kind of how you draw it up. What'd you think of the game?
Oh, it was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic game. It was very defensive in the first half. I thought both teams came out and did what they do. You had two quarterbacks that were similar in Aller and Riley Leonard. They're both guys that have some mobility, not great passers. And again, I was excited to watch Marcus Freeman win with that Notre Dame team, because you think Notre Dame football, you think Newt Rockne and what Notre Dame football was always built on. And he's the antithesis of that. He's the new type of coach. All the players love him. He's like a player. I think he's the youngest head coach in NCAA. And he has those kids playing. They don't make mistakes. I watch things like their, bad penalties that they take and are they doing things instinctively? And his team does more things instinctively maybe than any other team in college football right now. So I was excited about the game. I thought both teams played very well. I mean, that's exactly what a Final Four game should be. And now tonight, we have it could be very, very similar, with Ohio State, who I think has the best talent, especially offensively, that receiving room that Ohio State has, and the running back, Tavon Henderson. And they've just got a couple guys that just are terrors. And then Texas, who I think had the best offensive line in college football, but they've been banged up. And Kelvin Banks has been out. Now he's coming back, but how healthy is he? And Cam Williams has been out. And some of the guys that are going to be first-round draft picks in the NFL. So Texas, and you know me, I'm always a guy that believes you win with lines. And I just think Texas had better lines at the beginning of the season. I'm not so sure that's the case now. And Ohio State is so talented athletically. I mean, their receiving room it's one of the best that's been in college football in years. And Will Howard is functioning as, the perfect kind of quarterback they need. He's not making mistakes anymore. Chip Kelly's done a great job in terms of putting that offense in. It's going to be a great game. It is going to be a great game. I'm actually in Southern California now, leaving and going to Vegas to get there in time to watch the game. But I'm down here in LA where I'm telling you, there's no way they could play a football game. You can't walk outside without breathing that stuff in. And it's just it's like nothing I've ever seen. It's almost like going through a war zone, and the fires down here and what it's done. So I was happy to see they moved the game. And now, we'll see what happens with that. But
yeah, it's devastating. I got friends affected. Obviously, you do. It's just bad all around. Do what we can, and certainly pray for them. How do you think that will affect the Rams having to move out of their stadium for a playoff game because of this?
I don't know that it will. I mean, Sean McVay he's taken a very different approach to this whole season, it seems like. And I think they're going to beat the Minnesota Vikings. I know everybody thinks the Vikings are the second best team, and they very well might be the second best team in the NFC behind Detroit. But I think that game last week took a lot out of that football team. I think just watch them on the side. It's tough to bring your team back after you put everything you have into what is really their championship game. And now you ask them to fly across the country. They were supposed to play a game in Los Angeles, but now it's been moved because of fire. There's a lot of things that'll be going on with that team. I just think that I think the Rams have approached this whole season differently. And I think Sean McVay I just have a lot of confidence in that guy. I think he knows how to handle professional athletes. And I just think the Rams are going to beat Minnesota, even though everybody's picking Minnesota. I don't believe so. I believe that game took a lot out of them. That Sunday night game against Detroit, which was a classic. It was fantastic football game. But they got their butts beat pretty well by Detroit. Detroit showed that they are the class of the NFC.
I mean, you say everybody's picking the Vikings to win. The odds makers are not. The Rams are favored by 3. I've got the Vikings to win. But we always say on Wild Card Weekend, there's always an upset. There are 6 games. There, you go back and look. There's at least one upset every year this weekend. Is there one that you can see happening?
Well, the biggest one I think is Washington going to Tampa Bay. I'm not sure on Tampa Bay. I'm not sold on them. I think Baker Mayfield has had a phenomenal year, but I just don't know if defensively they're good enough, if their secondary is good enough. And I just think Washington's got a little bit of what Houston had last year, which I think Houston has lost. I think Houston's going to get smashed by San Diego or by LA. I just think that LA's a physical team that's built for this time of the year. I think Houston is hanging on by a thread. I look at they beat one team that's in the playoffs all year. They beat Buffalo week 5. That's it. Not another team they beat is in the playoffs. So I just don't know that Houston is even in the same deal. Now, I don't know. Are they favored? because San Diego would be a great, or I keep calling them San Diego Chargers. But LA, I'm an LA guy. I can't call the Chargers LA. It's just like calling the Angels the
weird.
LA Angels. It doesn't work. But that's one I think.
Yeah.
That's one I think. And again, Buffalo. I think Buffalo's gonna. Again, I think they're gonna win that one handily. You've got a quarterback who's thrown 21 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the playoffs, and Josh Allen. I think he's a great playoff quarterback. And you got a rookie in Bo Nix coming into Buffalo, which is not going to be an easy deal for a guy from Auburn. And I just think it's going to be a tough call for Denver. So I like Buffalo to move on. Again, I think the Ravens game is an interesting one. I think the Ravens beat the Steelers because the Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2017. I mean, it's Mike Tomlin's the Sparky Anderson of the NFL. Sparky Anderson used to say, win 58% of your games. Don't win 60 because then they're going to expect you to win 62, 63, 64%, and you're going to get fired. Win just enough. And they make it to the playoffs, every other year, and they're always right there. They're always over. And Mike Tomlin's a great football coach. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're just an average team, and they're playing a team in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, been an MVP. Here's something that's interesting that I found out this week. So, who's been the best quarterback in professional football the last 5 years? In your mind, who's been the best quarterback?
Regular season
overall, the best. You can't.
Patrick Mahomes.
Who's been the best? Okay, Patrick Mahomes, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. You know how many MVPs Patrick Mahomes has won?
2?
0.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's pretty interesting. I think Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, he's thrown 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So he hasn't had great success in the playoffs. He needs to either step up and get this team to where they're going, or he's an MVP quarterback in the regular season, and that's what he is. So I think they'll win against the Steelers because, like I say, the Steelers to me are. They're the Steelers. They're just good enough to get in. And so other than that, I think Philadelphia beats Green Bay. Green Bay's limping in. It's like they're barely standing. So should be a good weekend of games, though.
No doubt. By the way, I could talk about this forever. I know you don't care for the media thing, Jim, but you do such a great job of it. I see why they have you there. You got the hair, you got the teeth, you got the hot takes. So enjoy it while you're doing it, man. I'm going to switch to the CFL for the time that we have left because it's gnawing at me. People are saying Rick Campbell going back to Ottawa. Bob Dice has hired his replacement. I loathe that thinking, and I know Bob really well. He wants the best people, and that's why I think he hired Rick Campbell. He shouldn't be worried that Rick's going to take his job. How do you feel about Rick Campbell going back to Ottawa?
It just makes total sense. Bob Dice and Rick Campbell are very good friends. Rick Campbell hired Bob Dice, and I can promise you this. I mean, I've been in this league a long time. There may be times when front offices say, hey, we can hire this guy, let's hire him. This is Bob Dice's hire. This has not been influenced by anybody who says, oh, this is our next head. That's not, I can put that on the table. It is not happening. This is a Bob Dice hire. And again, he's the one who will be held accountable for it. And if they don't win and don't whatever, it's going to be Bob Dice, regardless of what happens. If they win it all, it's going to be because Bob Dice, did these things. So again, this is a Bob Dice selection. There's just no question in my mind. If you have a chance to get a special teams guy like Rick Campbell, you jump on it. And Rick he's a young guy, still wants to stay involved in it. He's probably has some kind of an offset in his contract. So and they'll work something out so he'll, still be able to make some money doing this. That's the way these offsets work. Sometimes it's tough to do because you work for nothing. But no, I think it's a great hire. He's now leaving BC, and we have to talk about the BC trading for John Allen and letting Stanback go. I think that's really an interesting deal in the CFL, because Ryan McMaden, the one thing he has said is what I've said about BC is they are not physical enough. I just haven't felt that they're physical enough. And Ryan McMaden, when he was hired, said we have to be more physical. So he goes out and he gets the best offensive lineman in the league into John Allen. He's been fantastic for the Argonauts. He makes a lot of money, but they said, you know what, we're going to be physical. But then he goes and lets go of William Stanback, who's the most physical running back in the league. The one reason they went to get him was so that he could give them that physical mentality. And they bring James Butler back, who's a good running back. He's probably better all around than Stanback, but he's not that physical running back Stanback is. So I thought it was really interesting by BC to go bring John Allen in and then to let Stanback go and bring Butler in to replace him. I just thought it was a little bit of you expect them, okay, they're going to come out and they're going to get people to pound people. And to do that, when you have somebody like Stanback, he gives you that right immediately. Where Butler, again, solid back. And so, yeah, I thought that was an really interesting trade. Chris Jones, we have to talk about Chris Jones. I mean, that's going to North Carolina with Bill Belichick. Everybody was wondering what was happening with him. It makes so much sense. He worked for Freddie Kitchens in Cleveland, who's now Bill Belichick's offensive coordinator. One thing Chris did when he was out, when he was working with us, he would go out and he'd meet with coaches a lot. And he got to be close with Bill Parcells. And I'm sure that Bill Parcells had something to do with him going with Belichick. This is a great opportunity for Chris Jones. I mean, he'll be a great recruiter down there in the South. And like I say, for him to get an opportunity to work with Belichick, I was so excited for him. And I think it looks good on our league, to be honest with you. So, I'm excited for Chris. So it was kind of an exciting week. A lot of things happening. Owner, all the league meetings start this week on Sunday in Charlotte. So there'll be some things on rules that happen. So this will be an interesting week coming up also. So staffs are now getting to where their full players are being released to go to the NFL. We've had a couple NFL sign. Mekhi Polk got a great deal with Atlanta. There's been some players. Ontario Wilson signs with the Jets. So we got receivers leaving our league, going to the NFL, and this is the time that happens. Sorry, I had all those things I wanted to talk about.
Well, I'm glad you did. No, that's why we changed the format a little bit, so you got more time and stuff. But something about you football coaches, I'll tell you something about me. I hate talking on the phone. I loathe it. I don't like it. So if I'm on the phone with you, it means because I want to be, These football coaches are ringing me up. I'm like, for 6 months, you didn't even know who I was. And now you got nothing to do, so you're sitting here talking on the phone all day. Like, Jones must work on 36-hour days. Jones is on the phone all the time. That's that network. You know that? That's that networking thing. I don't like it. But now the coaches, they just talk all the time. And listen, I loathe to do this, Jim, but Patrick Mahomes has won 2 MVPs. 2018 and 2022. 2 of them. I got it here. Patrick Mahomes has won 2. 2018.
Oh, I'm glad you told me that. I heard that from Stephen A. Smith. Said that, and it blew me away. And I didn't check him. I thought about it last night. Ooh, if I'm going to bring that up on Rod's show, I should check it. And I didn't. I didn't. And that's bad on me. And that won't ever happen again. I apologize to the listeners. That's wrong for me to have bad information.
It's two Associated Press MVPs. So that is the award, I believe, the NFL award. 2022 and 2018, he won it. So, Coach, safe travels. Enjoy Vegas. Say hey to Holly for me, and I'll talk to you next week.
Very good. Thanks, Rod.
the CFL on TSN's Jim Barker joining us on a Football Friday. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover. Let's just make sure we got this all right. The Associated Press NFL MVP award, Patrick Mahomes has won it twice. That is the award, right? That they go by? We'll be back in a moment here on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
All right, everybody, we're back at it. Oh, things are starting to shake, aren't they? I'm going to ask you sports fans to please join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Things are happening. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpeterson.com. So let's replay the last segment there. Correcting people is tough to do because people don't like to be corrected. But if you recall, Jim Barker said, how many MVPs has Patrick Mahomes won? And I went, 2? And he said 0. Mark Knight came to the rescue. He's watching in Burlington, Ontario. Before I looked it up, he said Mahomes has won 2 MVP awards. And this kind of dovetails into something here. Now, Jim said, hey, I heard it from Stephen A. Smith and believed him. I shouldn't have. Where's the dude here? Jay Roth is watching, and he says, don't listen to ESPN or to Stephen A. Guy's making at least $5 million a year, and he's not even right. So, and I don't think he cares. We're over here on Game Plus Television playing our little piano, singing our little songs, and we got it right. And you're watching. So, speaking of all that, Chris, who's watching in Vernon, British Columbia, writes, and he said, how do we hold sports media accountable? Funny how that would come up an hour ago. And then this happened. Chris says, what happens to mainstream news media when they report false news? He says, I personally have stopped watching the 2 sports news shows. No highlights anymore. Just talking in multiple reporters' perspective and rumors. Sports can be just facts. Leave the gossip for high schools. That's your answer, Chris. Stop watching and unfollow. That's all you can do. There's this kid I was telling you about him. He's probably listening right now. Trey DeBuck from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he is currently a long snapper at New Mexico. He was with the Texas State Bobcats for what, Trey? A week? 2? And before that, the South Florida Bulls. He said to me at a Panthers game recently, he goes, there's only 2 podcasts I listen to, you and Joe Rogan. Now, I've never listened to a Joe Rogan podcast, but I know what he stands for. He stands for the truth. And I just like that you people, you got a bell, Clark? You people are starting to ask questions. Because Chris said, what happens to mainstream news media when they report false news? Bro, it happens every day. So that's why I'm sitting here today and have for 6 years with episode number 1412, just saying what I want. Because when the day comes, and by the way, it's not those people that you see on camera's fault. They're being put up to it. And it's not all of them, but I can guarantee you it's some of them. And I know it because I saw it. I've had people try to influence me. That's why I'm not the voice of the Rough Riders anymore. They try to get me to lie. I wouldn't do it. I won't do this job if you're making me say something that I know is wrong. But there are people that don't have that scruple. I'm not going to name names, but you said what happens to mainstream news media when they report false news? Nothing happens to them. Nothing. Not that I've seen. So thanks for stopping by. We're going to continue to let it rip every day. You're not going to catch us in a lie. Ever. Brady writes in as we sit on a football Friday and try to make this fun again. That's fun, but I mean just to make it about sports. Brady writes in, he says, hey, Rod, currently on the road to Calgary for my trip to Toronto. He's from Saskatoon. It's a Canadian. He says, thanks to Flair Airlines. Anyways, he says the Jake Meyer signing solidifies the Saskatchewan Roughriders quarterback room, bringing in a seasoned CFL quarterback to fill in behind Trevor Harris, something the Riders haven't had in years. Solid emergency blanket. He said, I'll be in Bills Mafia territory on Sunday. Go Bills. Ooh, bro. See, now here's another, that's a topic for another time that we don't really have time for. All these Canadians that are going down to NFL markets. Now, I noticed this season for the first time, more Canadians than ever are going to NFL games, particularly in sunny locales. Buffalo's not one. But that should really worry Canadian sports operators, especially with the dollar what it is, and people are still going to the States for games because it's the NFL thing. It's like my wife, she would, but we're not all the same. She goes, she would rather pay $800 for 2 tickets to an Oilers game than buy couple pairs of season tickets to junior hockey games and get 40 games versus one Oiler game. She'd rather do the one Oiler game. It's her choice. I'd rather go to the junior hockey, but that's me. We're all different. But you're going to the States for games out of Canada, that should worry Canadian sports operators. Scott writes in and he says, hey, listening from the Queen City. Thank you, Scott. You know what's interesting about that? That could be Charlotte, that could be Cincinnati, and it could be Regina. But the fact of the matter is, it's Regina. That's what you're talking about. I like the GIF, and I wish I could air this on the air, but Chris just sent the GIF of Mike Myers, Austin Powers, clapping to my thing about the mainstream media and false news. You're never going to stop it, so all you can do is stop watching it. That's all I can say. We'll be right back with Overtime. Can it get spicier? Oh, I think so. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
and gentlemen, do you have a winter birthday in the house? And is that birthday boy or girl hockey obsessed? Then make that birthday party at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. They won't be disappointed. And let's be honest, they're the ones that matter. The spacious shooting lanes, the licensed bar and restaurant for the adults, state-of-the-art equipment. It's an amusement park for hockey players. That's what I said. They didn't care for that slogan, but I still say that it is. I love it every time I'm in Calgary. I'm there. Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Some great comments from the audience here. 902-518-3033 to reach us in the last segment of the week. And by the way, it has been a fantastic week. A really, really fantastic week. I hope it has been for you as well. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in. He says, as usual, the RP show is the best sports talk show ever. I love it. C Lightning writes in and says, Rod is number one. Not going to disagree. Wayne goes on to say, what happens, Rod, is that people lose confidence in the media and stop watching. I know. I know. And you want to see our numbers, by the way? A 50% jump from last year at this time, year over year. People are starting to ask questions. People are figuring it out, for the love of God. Finally. And when I say it's been a great week, and trust me, I'll get to the sports update here in a second, a lot of it has to do with my dad being one of 29 scouts being named to the Western Canada Scouting Foundation Wall of Honor. It's a big deal. He was in the early era segment of those being inducted. And a lot of those guys are my friends. If I named them, I would feel bad I'd miss somebody. But Brad Horning, Larry Horning, Keith Wilson, when I was with the PA Raiders, he was our guy. He's awesome. Al McPherson, Brandon Wheat Kings, Al Tour of the Florida Panthers, and the former head coach of the Moose Jaw Warriors. It's a wonderful list of guys going in. And the thing is, I don't know those guys all. Carter Sears, who was my dad's best friend. Kind of see is. Used to own and run the Milestone Hotel. It's funny how this all comes together, though. This is, I don't know if you believe it or not. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't care. But my dad said to me all the time, he goes, your word is the last thing you have. The second you break that, you got nothing. And the reason I bring that up, I was talking to a friend of mine who works for the Golden Knights this week, and we were talking about his owner, Bill Foley. And he goes, you say anything you want about Bill Foley, he goes, but he doesn't play. He goes, and his word is his bond. He does not screw around. And I said, well, no, he's a military guy. Went to West Point, as did Vincent Viola, the owner of the Florida Panthers. Stick with me here on the end of this, on the final segment of the week. Both those guys, their word is their bond. It's called integrity. Serena and I were talking about that. The last two Stanley Cup champions, West Point guys, military, integrity. Your word means something. And not everybody was raised that way. I get it. But it's like, if I can't be on the air saying what I feel is right, and you're damn sure not going to tell me what to say when I know it's wrong, I don't want to do it. And that's why we're here. So, and that's clearly why you're here. So thanks as I step down off my soapbox. Mark in Melfort writes in, he says, another week in the books. Have a great weekend, Rod and crew. See you next week. Colin in Ottawa writes in, he says, LOL, Stephen A. Smith getting something wrong. No surprise there. Jim Barker actually texted me, and he's like, I apologize that I didn't fact-check that on Stephen A. I said, Stephen A. is proving you don't need to be right. You just need to be loud. I'm not sure. He's not going to face any discipline for that. Who cares? Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, well done this week, Rod. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you. Thanks for sticking in all week and participating. Here's your sports update, as I promised. The Vancouver Canucks are winless in 3 games heading into tonight's road matchup against the Carolina Hurricanes. Canucks netminder Thatcher Demko could get the start after a brief absence, while star forward Elias Pedersen also nears a return. Also tonight, the Montreal Canadiens look to stay hot when they visit the Washington Capitals, and the Winnipeg Jets host the LA Kings. We went through all the picks earlier with Moose. I'm 1 pick behind him in our Bet Regal breakaway bets. Meanwhile, Ohio State battles Texas in the Cotton Bowl tonight, with the winner advancing to U.S. college football's national championship. Notre Dame earned its way into the NCAA's title game with a 27-24 win over Penn State in last night's Orange Bowl here in Miami Gardens. The national championship game will be held January 20th at Mercedes Stadium in Atlanta, a place where I was not more than a month ago. Sports update brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check us out at seatgiant.ca. What else you got for me? 902-518-3033. We've been able to cover a lot of ground. When I say that we jumped 50% in viewership from a year ago, I think we're going to jump another 50% or more in 2025 from the small tweaks that we did that you didn't even notice. But it's better. Laverne writes in from Swift Current. Hey, Laverne, where's Shirley? Laverne says, so great show, RP. I call a lot of sports talk shows fake sports news. Have a great weekend. Go Longhorns. Regards, Laverne. Ron in Okotoks, Alberta, writes in, and he says, great week, Rod. By the way, Detroit versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Hopefully Detroit wins. Who called for that Super Bowl matchup in Super Bowl 58 going into the year? Oh, yeah, this guy. But I'm not going to do a victory lap or take credit until it actually happens. But as we found out last night, the Motor City Mad Mouse, Scott Morganroth, will be at the Super Bowl for us. Chad and Lethbridge, take care of yourself and the fam. We'll see you back here on Monday, everybody. Stay safe.
I had this steak!